Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to our show. And we want to welcome everyone that will be joining us as the show progresses. And just want to thank you. Welcome to another episode of MyTake. We are really glad that you've tuned in to join us on our conversation. My name is Tosi Omotayo Benson, and with me are my girlfriends. Ladies, say hi.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. So just introduce yourselves.
Well, this is Adenyke. Israel. Always a fantastic time to be here with everyone.
This is Jumoke. Good to see you all again.
Hi, I'm Tutu Aladisu.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks for joining in this conversation. As we all know, it's a part two series of Secrets in Relationships. We did the first part 3 weeks ago, and this is a continuation. So, just a quick, brief story. My Take is a forum where ladies hang out, we unwind, we chat about different happenings around the world, and we want to lend our voices to social issues today. Our goal is to promote a culture of love and compassion, as truth and candidness. We like to be real on this show. On today's episode, like I said, it's a continuation of Secrets in Relationship. And we want to welcome questions and comments. So please go ahead and share. All our shows have been interactive with people online. So we want you to not hold back. We've heard in the past that some people hold back. They text us privately. Please bring those conversations to the table today. We would appreciate that. Another thing is, before we go in, I want to talk about a question that we also want your take on. And the question is, should you tell a friend if you find their spouse in a compromising situation? The question, just type in the chat yes or no. So again, the question is, should you tell a friend if you find their spouse in a compromising situation? So we welcome your takes on that. For this show, we've come across some real life situations. We shared some last 3 weeks ago, and we're going to share some today on popular social media blog sites. Some of these scenarios, they reveal details about people dealing with serious issues in relationships. When reading some of these comments, we find out that some people believe in full disclosure or taking it to their graves. But this topic will put a spin on it and different scenarios. So Tutu, just to bring some people up to speed, what were some interesting things that you picked up from last week? I'm sorry, 3 weeks ago.
Thank you, Tosi. It was one of the interesting things was Lola asking about, what a secret is and why, is there a need to share the secret? So it was important for people to understand what secret means to them in their relationships, the need to share such secrets. And also, it was emphasized that marriage is built on a foundation of trust and transparency, and also that some positive reactions could actually come out from sharing secrets with your spouse.
Okay, thank you so much. So without much delay, we're going to jump into our scenarios this time. We're changing things around. So we're going to jump into our scenario. And our first scenario touches the church. Okay, so are you ready? Is there an obligation for a Christian minister who was caught in an adulterous affair to also confess to the church and seek forgiveness? Knowing how some of these matters has been handled unfairly in various churches around the world, should there be an obligation? Because some churches handle it well and some I've heard about not so much. That's personal to me. Some people will say no, everybody share. So I want to hear your take on that. Should a Christian minister caught in an adulterous affair also confess to the church and seek forgiveness?
This is a very interesting one. Okay, I hope I'm clear. Can you guys hear?
Yes.
So, of course, we have heard stories. I think most of us here are church girls. So we've been around the block a bit, and we've seen different scenarios. And honestly speaking, I feel the answer should be yes. However, there are certain scenarios that would fall along the fringe lines that could be very rare, in my opinion, exceptions to how this should be handled. But I do believe that if we step back a minute, that part of leadership is accountability, leadership on any circle, right? In any field, um, in any industry. Leadership is the ability for a person, not a perfect person, not a person without faults, but there's a level of moral obligation and expectation that comes with leadership. And when we bring it closer to the church, I personally believe that we bring a clear moral view and angle to where people are at, to what we speak to, that then requires that where we fall short morally, we need to stand before the people of God and to confess our sins, because the Bible says, confess your sins one to another. Now, for some people, it might be easier because you're confessing your sin to a congregation of 10 or 12 people. For some other people, when you have multiple parishes and multiple, huge congregation, you may feel that you are doing more harm to the body of Christ by confessing. So some people feel once they've confessed to their leaders or those that they have as that they're accountable to, quote unquote, that should suffice. They've asked God for forgiveness. They've asked the spouse for forgiveness. They've maybe told the elders board, whatever the case may be. But I do think that these things come out to the congregation, and there's an obligation as a leader to confess of such an affair by virtue of that position. That's the take that I have. I'd love to hear what others have to say.
Lola, you have anything? Hi, Lola.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with Nike there. I think there is some value in being transparent to your body, to your, to the rest of your congregation in various ways. Not only is there value in terms of, your church, knowing that you're human and that, humans are susceptible to the wiles of the devil, including the pastor, and for them to be able to stand in the gap for you. But I think there's also value in not hearing stuff outside. You want to be able to, if you're part of a family, you want to be able to be the first reference, the first point of contact for issues that may be going on within the body, and not have to be in the dark or in ignorance. So yeah, I definitely believe there is value in sharing that information and having the rest of your body be a part of that process with you.
Okay. Am I the only one that doesn't agree with the two of you? Any other ladies that doesn't agree?
I don't know. It's possible.
Can you ladies hear me?
Yes, we can. Faye, welcome.
Okay. Sorry, Tosi. I also agree. I also think that there is merit to the pastor, really coming out and sharing what is going on with the congregation, because these things. I think I'm of the opinion that nothing is hidden under the sun. People will eventually find out, and typically the ramifications are worse when they find out, later, and then it's like they've been hiding things. Things like that have detrimental effects. It can really ruin some people's walk with God. But your pastor coming out and saying, "Look, this thing has happened. I own it. I fell. Pray for me. Forgive me. I'm looking for forgiveness from God and from you all." And then stepping down for a time. I think it's a much more holistic way of dealing with these type of situations.
Okay. Thank you so much.
But also, if I can even jump in. So I can't wait to hear Tosi's view on this. So maybe I'll let Tosi speak first. Because if it's so obvious, why do we hear so many stories through the grapevine, like Lola said? And I don't know how you would feel if you go to a particular parish and you're hearing people saying stuff like that outside. But I do find that it's commonplace. That, it's when the outside news media breaks it that we tend to find out. So I'm just curious, why is this a common view? So let me first of all, I think maybe I'd love to hear Tosin's take. Maybe that would help me understand why this is not what we see happening.
Okay, so basically, I agree that there should be transparency and all that, but because of what I've heard and the way it has been handled in the past, not so well. That I'm hesitant when I feel it's okay when he comes clean with a number of people, but when it's to the church, I don't know why I feel like it hasn't been handled well, the way that other parish, different parish, and I don't want to put anyone on the spot or give particular instances or whatever, but it has really, really gone sour. Yes, it's good to hear from the person, directly from the person, and let it be handled. But my thing is this: if there are 10 ministers, okay, that are doing this thing, are you going to come out every week to start announcing that this is what this minister did, and this is what this minister did, and this is what this minister did? So I just feel like there's a way in which the church leadership can own on it and try to work on it, because it would not fare well with I don't know. I just
Maybe we give everybody one strike.
One strike.
Every minister one strike. And then we're coming out.
Because isn't it? And I think I hear what Tosin is saying, that unfortunately, if we don't have a level of maturity within the church to know that this happens, I actually feel as if the church would be a bit more forgiving. That's what I feel. I feel as if that if you did that, then we wouldn't have it. Somebody say, well, this person did it, nobody said anything, so they think they can do it. I feel it's that quietness that and the silence and the way we do it and the secret behind it that makes it easier for some other people to justify or rationalize in their minds that this is okay. But to Tosin's point, and that's why I said there might be some very extreme situations, and that's why I kind of agree with that the way some things are handled will be critical. But I just feel so strongly that there has to be a baseline. And I feel that we border on this hypocritical view of the church, because on a good day, if a person comes to confess to their pastor or to their minister, they expect them to provide advice. They might tell them, you need to reveal it to this and this person, to whoever matters to them in their lives. Why should they be different? Right? So that's kind of how I'm also looking at it.
Okay. But then we have those people that would say, well, this minister did it, so I get a one-time pass too. You know what I mean? Like, just because, and I think there's no right or wrong way to answer this question. It's just based on the individual that is sitting in the church, under that pastor, because some people will look at it and say, oh, my pastor had this affair, so the first time I do it, I get a pass. I mean, the pastor still gets to keep his job. People didn't leave or whatever. They use that against, I mean, of course, that's not always the case. There are people that also would look like, okay, this man came in front of all of us, or this woman came in front of all of us and let us know. That is showing the human part of that person. You know what I mean? Because we are all humans and we are all sinners. So you can sort of relate to the pastor coming out. But at the same time, people can swing it around and use it for whatever they want to do. So I really don't know.
And I wanted to also say that transparency shouldn't just be the confession, it's transparency all around. So then what is being done about it? What are the steps that are being taken? That also should be shared so that people can see the full course, that look, this happened, this is how it's being handled, this is how it's being dealt with, and this is, not something that we tolerate. This is not including ourselves. We also hold ourselves accountable as leaders, just as we will hold you accountable as congregation members. I think the full transparency should be there.
Okay. I agree with Lola. And I also know that, from reading the comments, someone said it's possible that people may leave the church or the impact it will have on the church. But I believe that when such a confession is going to be made to the church, of course, done with wisdom, but also with the understanding that there may be consequences to this revelation, and the pastor, the church, the leadership should be ready for the consequences. Some of the consequences may include people leaving the church. It could be anything, but you have to be ready for it. And ultimately, the church leadership should realize that the church is the body of Christ. Christ owns the church, not the pastor. The church is not standing on the pastor, but on Christ. So at the end of the day, Christ is the one that will pull his church and his people together. So the leadership should not be more conscious of how people will take the news. Be forthright with the people, like everybody else has said, and be willing to live with the consequences.
Okay, so thank you, ladies. I wanted to say that Buki was piggybacking on, was saying something that Lola was saying. What is the expectation from the church, and what is the expectation from the confessor? So basically, setting guidelines that this is, if this were to happen, these are the repercussions. And like Tutu said, how the media response should not be your first motive, or how to spin it. Your first motive is making sure that, by God, what are the yardstick of God, and setting, staying on that bar that God has set. So that should be the first thing. And Yemisi said, wisdom must be applied. It's a very sensitive situation. So we can see all the different comments. Thank you all so much. Shaz said, is it possible that part of the reason why leaders do not say anything is because it could affect members leaving the church, which could have a financial impact on the ministry? And I think Tutu has answered that should not be the focus for disciplinary actions after the person has been transparent. There should also be transparency, but there should also be, what are the consequences and how are we following it through? Thank you, ladies.
What can I ask a question though? So what happens, and I think this might have been a comment Buki sort of made, what are the consequences where the family or the spouse or the wife is struggling with, because you've done this, yes, you're the pastor, but they feel that, she's not ready. You've just completely, the wife feels her life is currently destroyed. Is there an expectation that she should be comfortable before he has to do that, or whether or not she's ready to expose it, it has to just be done, right? I know we talked about it, the impact on the family. Is this something that we need to that he needs to consider, or the impact on them? We know it has to be considered, but I don't know what you guys think.
Are you saying?
I think most definitely. Most definitely. I think, like he said, that's when you take time out. If something like this happens, I think that person has to look out for, their family. Take the time out. You don't have to be at church. You don't have to be, quote unquote, preaching a sermon the next Sunday. I think you just need to take time out first, seek the face of God, and look for guidance from people that you respect and will lead you right. But I think the family, the wife especially, and if they have children, they need to be considered before you just stand up there and put yourself out there. Most definitely.
And I think it's even more so for the sake of the family that the confession should be to the church first, because then the church can rally around and support the family and protect the family. If they hear about it outside, then it will be as if it's something that the family is also keeping for, now again, it becomes a deception. It becomes, more than it is. But if he confesses and in his confession says, please, this is my vulnerability and my family is suffering on that behalf, you will see the women will rally around the husbands, if it's the female, whatever family will rally around. I believe so.
Okay, thank you all so much. We would move on to our next.
I think at the end of the day, we need to acknowledge that a pastor having an affair is a devastating activity.
It sure is. It sure is, all around, for the members, for the family, for everyone involved, devastating. And so it should, for me, like I said, it should be handled with, care, because there are people involved, and sensitivity on the matter, I believe very strongly, because I've seen how it's been handled otherwise, and it wasn't cute on the family. Moving on to our next scenario. Okay, this one is directed to you guys. Remember, I asked a question: should you tell a friend if you find their spouse in a compromising situation? Nika, would you want us to go to that poll, or should I read the comments from the chat?
We can, and I think if anybody else hasn't, if everybody has it, I thought that we had the poll, but absolutely, I think we can go on with the chat.
Okay, so please put it in the chat. I see Nikki had said no. Adenyke had said no. Shaz has said no. So please let us know what else you might think. But I'll just read the next scenario because this one is directed to you, as we said. If you catch a close friend's spouse in a compromising situation, are you expected to keep the secret? Would you share? Ladies, what's your take on it?
I don't know.
Was it the spirit that was revealing it to you for a purpose?
I'm not saying anything. First of all, it depends on how. Okay, my safe answer is no. I'm not saying anything. Because, first of all, I don't know what's going on in their marriage, in their relationship. I really don't know. You know, I think over the years, I've come to realize that people do, marriage means different things to different people, first of all. You know, we all saw, you know, the entanglement thing a few weeks ago, and they both had a different meaning of what their relationship was, which is different from what I know to be, you know, a marriage, you know. But so I would not be quick to say anything to my friend. I just wouldn't. Now, if I'm close to the spouse that I found in a compromising situation, if I'm that close to that person, and if the person is my friend as well, I will say something. I saw you, you saw me. What's up? You know, what's going on? You know, and based on the answer, the feedback I get from that person, and it could be my girlfriend or my guy friend, whatever. Based on the answer, then I would decide within myself whether I'm going to say something. But my first response would not be to get on the phone and tell my friend, hey, I just caught your guy over here, you know, with some, because I really don't know. How do I even know who the woman is? Okay, how do I know who she is? And even if I know, okay, something is not right, I'm not going to be quick to jump on it. That's a sensitive thing. And we all know husbands, wives, boyfriend, girlfriends, they make up. And then I want to look like the bad guy because I said something. Oh no, thanks.
So okay, ladies, look at me in the eye right now. Look at me in the eye right now. God forbid, but if I catch any of your spouses or my close friends' spouses, know that I'm matching up to your house. Okay, he will know that I know, and she will know. I will deal with the consequences after. That's my 2 cents. Tutu, please go ahead.
I was going to say the same thing, that, you know, at least for any of you ladies here, God forbid, you know, if I find your husbands, not only will I accost the husband right there on the spot, the woman, I will also ask him, you know, to go ahead and tell you. And if he doesn't, if I don't get a call from you telling me you heard from your husband told me, blah, 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 I will bring it up with you. And I hear what Jumoke is saying about the sensitivity of the thing, but I just feel, you know, at least in the spirit of sisterhood, I don't consider you ladies my friends.
Who is it? It depends on how close you are to the friend, though, don't you think?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like a close friend, or
yeah, that's why I'm using the example of you ladies. God forbid that if it was any one of you, I would definitely have something to say to the husband and to you as well. But again, one has to deal, you know, with wisdom.
Jumoke, one of the comments on the chat says, Jumoke, would your answer be different if it was your sister or your brother?
I actually thought about that. I'm very close to my brother-in-law. So for the sake of, my brother-in-law would have been calling me first. God forbid anything were to happen. He's going to get on the phone. Sis, I know you saw me. We see each other. Let's talk. He better come first. Okay. So I'm very close to my sister. You guys know that. But I'm close to my brother-in-law as well. So the relationship is kind of different in that regard. In fact, it's my brother, not my brother-in-law. So that's different. Now, my brother and his wife, if I caught my brother, or if I'm going after the person that I caught, not the person that is at home, not aware. I'm going to that person first. You saw me, I saw you, let's talk. And then, like Tutu said, I would hope from that conversation that you are having another conversation with your spouse. I don't want to be the bearer of that news. I really don't. I don't want to. It's uncomfortable. It's sensitive. I don't know. Even for you guys, I don't know. Let me look at y'all. I don't know.
Come on, girl.
I really don't know.
I've experienced that before, some years ago, where in this case, I'm not close to the couple, but her husband did something inappropriate, and he was in an uncompromising situation that I was aware of, and I spoke to him. And I told him, I said, look, this thing that you have done, number one, I'm going to talk to, I told him who I was going to talk to about it, someone in leadership that, we both respect. I said, I'm going to tell him because the person you were trying to entangle with is also, someone, that's like a little sister to me, and she actually said something. So I talked to him and he appreciated it. He told me he was going to talk to his wife about it. I don't know if he did, but I did speak to the person in leadership about it, and they had a meeting. So I don't know what came out of it, but I did talk to the guy.
Okay. Bookie says we have to clarify what compromising is.
A compromising should be a position as a married man. You should not be with someone that's not your wife. Abby, is that?
If I catch you kissing, if I catch you holding, if I catch you on, something.
Holding hands, walking down the park.
Something that makes me uncomfortable seeing you.
It might be his cousin, though.
He holding hands with his cousin. Jumoke, he's kissing his cousin.
I think for me, it's a very important point made. I think, and don't laugh at me. I feel that number one, there's also a need, especially if you're not close to the person, it's important to start praying for them. Nothing happens by accident. I feel that if it's not somebody, and I'm in that place, if it's any, to be honest with you, if it's any, God forbid, any of my brothers here married to my sisters here, I probably would jack up my brother first to say, and then I'll do what Tutu said. She must not know that I know and you know. Two of us cannot have secrets. So go and just tell her. When you finish telling her, I can come and then say, you did what? Then I'll be putting 2 sentences to support you and you guys need to fix it. But I would not want someone close to me to be in the dark, and I know it. So I would first of all push that. But if I find that it is a very unrepentant sort of person and I'm close to the person, I will feel an obligation to let them know.
We're assuming that person doesn't know, though, because there are issues, like I said, we have all kinds of situations going on. Sometimes that person knows. They know. And they're keeping that secret. And then you want me to help you?
But the thing I'm even now saying is, depending on how close I am to my friend, right, is where I would first, because my friends that I'm close to, I have a very good relationship with their spouses. So I would first be looking at the healing of both. To me, my friend and my friend's spouse that I'm close to are hurting, and I would feel a sense of having to do something about it. But if I'm not that close to them, I know I'll be so burdened. The only thing I would really be able to say is really pray, because, I would then lean to what Jumoke said, because experience has shown these things are not always welcome. So that's the time to really pray and to really ask God to open the eyes of people, to reveal, you just do whatever you can do in that situation. And then where it's unique, for example, and I'm very careful to say this, but where it's unique, or I feel there's a leadership connection that I feel could be helpful, I may just go and speak to a leader. to a pastor to say, or to find someone in the church that I feel they can listen to say, I saw this person and this is what I saw. Because I feel sometimes the enemy is also trying to draw people to a place of destruction. And, while we want to manage it with wisdom, like everybody has said, I also don't feel that it's everything I should just be quiet about. I'll either pray, speak to a leader that I feel they respect, that may be able to get involved in it on a different level, or if it's very close to me, I know I'll probably intervene in one way or the other. I won't just be able to sleep. It will just burn in my heart. Yeah.
One question. Buki asked, would you want to know? Yes or no? Yeah, don't give me an explanation. I just need a yes or no. Adenyke.
Yes. I can't play in the dark. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Lola.
Absolutely. Immediately. Immediately.
Yeah, let me know so I can make an appointment to see my obituary. Like on Monday.
And it's a yes for me. Yes, I would want to know. Another question is, what happens if the person runs on citing you? You speak to the person and the person denies it's the person flatly. It's not me.
You didn't see me. Look, I said I saw you. Me. That tells you already where that thing is going to go. Me. So whatever you tell your friend, that person will finish you. That
yes,
where was he? Which place?
Yes.
So you already know what you're dealing with.
but I think I would still talk to my friend without saying it, just to get a feel of what is going on. Like, because if the person now runs, how am I going to convince her that I saw her husband or her boyfriend? Like, how?
So please, wisdom, take a picture.
So I've actually been in that situation before, and it affected the friendship. We weren't friends after that, but I don't regret it. I would do it again, just because the person did end up being whack. Like, it came out later on, much later on, and I really personally don't know if it's something that they were recurringly, they knew about. Maybe she knew about it already. She confronted the spouse, and of course I became the bad guy. I became the person trying to break up the relationship and everything. And I took the L for that. That's fine. But my conscience was clear, because I know in the situation I would have wanted to know. And now we're friends again. The person and I are friends again, and the person did end up being what was revealed years before. But again, I feel like I would want to know. I would feel bad if I knew something that is hurting a friend and I kept it from the person, and I knew. I wouldn't be able to live with that kind of secret. And so, of course, when you tell someone, you don't like just blurt it out. If the person is your friend, what's going on? How are things going and everything? I think you should, maybe look into this, maybe, scroll his phone, something like, you prep you think. You just don't come, because there's also, you don't know the state of mind the friend is in and what she's able to receive or not receive. But I couldn't sit and on something like that. Like Jumoke pointed out earlier, there's other implications to knowing something and not telling the person. There's, again, STDs out there. There's diseases that, things. You don't want your friend to wake up one morning and be kicked out. Their stuff is packed out in the street. They weren't able to go and legally protect themselves, or, different things. And then you knew and you just sat on it. I would tell.
Yeah.
Even consequences to the relationship I have with the person, that's fine. Like Tosin said, I'll deal with the aftermath later. But for now,
I'll deal with it. You said as much as Jumoke is saying no, I really hear underneath a yes.
No, you look. I said no. But everybody should get them a girlfriend that will tell them. I have Tosin. Adenyke, yeah. Me, I'm the one. So everybody, get that friend in your corner that will tell you. That's my advice. So at least I know I have friends that will tell me now.
In the interest of time, I'll take this last question on this topic. Tony says, just curious, what if your friend knows her husband is cheating, but she chooses to be quiet and pretends it goes away? What would you do?
Yeah, that was what I was trying to say earlier, because some people do know. They do know, and they're waiting for somebody to help them make the decision they want to make, But honestly, if that person knows, I mean, what are you supposed to do? They already made a decision to stay. All you could do is be of support to them when they change their mind or when they want to take the next step. All you could do is support the decision, whether they choose to move on or not. That's their decision. And as a friend, just support it and just be of support. And it doesn't mean you have to help them make the decision you think is best for them, but just supporting them in whatever way you can.
Okay.
So for me, if my friend chooses to stay, I would support her, but with common sense. So number one, if you're going to stay in this kind of relationship with a serial philanderer, what are you doing to protect yourself?
Philandering.
What are you going to do to protect yourself? I do hope that, like Jumoke said, you've seen your OBGYN, so you're taking necessary precautions. Number two, do you have a job, a business? Are you able to fend for yourself? Number three, if yes is the answer, this person, what are you doing to protect your future? Because you really don't know what can happen. You don't know if he's going to have kids from outside. You don't know if he's going to betray you in more ways. So what are you doing to protect yourself and your children financially? Number four, what are you doing for your children to protect your children as well? So these are the common sense questions I'll be asking my friend if she chooses to stay. I mean, there's nothing wrong in staying if that's what she wants to do, but she can't now stay and be ignorant. So you really need to know what it is you're dealing with, why you're staying, and how you're protecting yourself and your children.
Tutu, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for laying it out like that, and I hope people are listening. In the interest of time, we will move on to the third scenario, and this one, which I'm very confused about the terminology, but it says it's about a spouse who cheats accidentally. Should he or she reveal to their partner? I don't understand what accidentally is, but please, ladies, share your take.
So honestly, like you said, accidentally, I don't think, you accidentally cheat. I mean, things can start accidentally, but by the time it gets to the point where your panties and your pants are down, it's no longer an accident. You knew what you were doing. So great, that happens. Now, God forbid, if this happened to me, Tutu, I can't live with a secret hanging over my head, because number one, there are two of us involved. So even if I decide I will never tell, what if the other person tries to blackmail me or do something? So the best way I deal with my husband is to be forthright. So I would confess to him. Now, will there be consequences? Possibly. He may leave me, or he may afterwards never trust me again. But at least I know I have confessed to him, I have confessed to God, I'm never doing this again, and we'll see, what happens afterwards. Now, for some people, it may be very difficult. And some people already know the kind of spouses they are married to, that their spouses can't handle such. So I would advise such people to maybe seek counsel with their leader. It could be a leader in church, in your mosque, whatever faith you believe in, or someone your spouse truly respects, and someone who is also interested in the success of your relationship. So you can seek counsel and find a way to break the news. I know some people would say, you've done it once, go and sin no more. But me personally, I would come out.
I would say, depending on the relationship you have with your significant other, it could be a yes, it could be a no. So depending on what's going on in that marriage, we have, I mean, not to give an excuse for people stepping out or whatever, but if it were in the case where you can't call your husband, or if you dare tell your husband something like this, that you did something 5 years ago, and you know that is going to lead to some sort of domestic violence, some sort of you already have an idea of what is going on in your marriage. So I think that would be a yes or a no, depending on the state of your marriage. Because some people cannot take it, and some people don't tell their spouses what is going on in their lives, talk less of something that happened in the past that you've moved on from. So it could either, I think it depends on the two people, right, in that marriage, to be honest.
Okay. Lola?
I also think it depends on the situation. People are in very interesting scenarios that it will blow your mind as to what kind of relationship scenarios people are in. To thine own self be true. Know who you're married to and what they can handle. I mean, in my situation, like Tutu said, I feel like once you have secrets, even I beg my children, I can handle anything. Just don't keep secrets. Don't give the devil the opportunity to go, like, don't create a room of darkness where the devil can use against. So it's just really my philosophy to always be transparent and encourage transparent. But my family setup can't handle that. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's family health setup can handle that. There are people in abusive relationships that know what kind of consequence will come from confessing something accidental. And me coming into that situation without knowing that those dynamics and saying, better go and confess so and tell. I also don't want to be reading about someone in the newspaper the next day, as a result of the confession to the spouse. So I just think that there needs to be wisdom applied, as we've always said. There needs to be godly counsel. If you're in that situation, go and find counsel, godly counsel that you can trust, and seek advice based on your own particular situation. Because when we go back to last week when we said that is there's some secrets that you need to take to the grave, and some of us said yes, and it's because those are very situation based circumstances where not one answer fits everything. It depends on what the accidental confession is involved. If you're accidentally confessing that you slept with your father-in-law, I mean, like, what kind of fallout will come from that? Sometimes it's a situation where you ship your father-in-law to Siberia, never to, be in relation, never to be in contact with your family dynamic again. So that is how you handle it moving forward. And then you confess to God and leave it at that, So it's very situation based, and you have to kind of look in yourself, look at your own circumstances, your situation, and say, what is the best solution moving forward. And you see that some counselors would advise like that, is because that's why you take situation by situation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I see Shaz says, if it is a one-off thing, is it what jeopardizing a harmonious relationship? Chaz, what is harmonious to begin with? Let me just leave that alone.
I guess what she was saying is that if things are good now, let's say, I'll use myself as an example. I'm good with my husband, we're good. And then all of a sudden, he tells me that, 10 years ago, he was with Tutu. We're good. Tutu. Yeah, I'm using you. Sorry. That has just wrecked. That has just. I guess that's what she's saying. Like, if things are good, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? Just breaking everything up right now because you want to share. So I don't know.
I totally understand that. So in the interest of time, thank you all so much on the chats. We see it's really busy, and we want to appreciate you for that. A final scenario I have and this one is in the interest of trying to protect the marital foundation. What advice, ladies, would you give a spouse who shares with you that they've discovered a dark secret about their spouse from somewhere? Any lady? Anyone?
As you said this, I just remembered a scenario. And I think this was one of these scenarios that came up in one of these online, on this, Instagram platforms and chats. So I'm almost, and this is a scenario whereby a guy said that he and his wife married as virgins, and he thought they had a good relationship. They were very happy. And then some controversial discussion came up about maybe inappropriate sexual activity, and he overheard or mistakenly saw his wife's chat with a few friends, and she making a statement like, "But we all did it back in the day," or something funny, or she alluded to something that could be lewd, that could be very, sexually to him, surprising that, whoa, you did that. And when he tried to have that conversation, maybe out of shock or surprise that he even saw what the woman refused to have that. So this just, when you ask that question, that scenario just popped into my head. What do you do? So you're curious, or you're hearing something, or you found out that your husband had such a terrible past on campus, was in a cult, God forbid. He's saved, he's born again, but back then he did things he probably never really revealed to you. And later on, people are like, so and so person married. When people are like, could that sort of man can he ever be redeemed? And he never told you some of those really dark secrets. I think it's really tough, because the past, I feel, and I don't know if this is the best way of putting it, the past is the past to a large extent. I really believe all things are passed away, all things have become new. There are things people did, dark things that, thank God for God. I mean, if we were to go into, it was Paul that kept bringing up his own past, that in fact, I can't even forgive myself. For me to get rid of this past, I have to go to 5 other cities to preach the gospel. You know what I mean? But in this situation, I feel that where you feel is something that maybe you've always wondered why your spouse did certain things, or you felt something wasn't quite right. So you feel that there could be a residue of this past that the person is struggling with. I think at that point, it's something that should come up. If you find out that your spouse, once had a homosexual relationship, a man or a woman, that may be something you struggle with, that may be their past. But are they struggling? Do they still have those thoughts, those memories? How do you handle that? For somebody to say, I used to be with a man, saying they used to be with a person's husband, and the husband never revealed to them that they had that past. So I feel that could be a very dark secret that, though it's in the past, may bring a lot of concern, because it could potentially have an impact on your future. So that would be the scenario for me, that I feel something like that needs to be addressed from the past.
I also feel that in this type of situation, the spouse that is just finding out, of course, will go through all kinds of emotions, like wondering, why would you have kept this kind of secrets away from me, and all of that. So it's natural to feel all those emotions, to feel hurt. But afterwards, I would just encourage such a spouse to forgive. I know it's easier said than done, to forgive, and then come out and have an open and honest conversation with your spouse. I mean, one of the questions you would even ask yourself is why your spouse would feel the need not to reveal this kind of information to you. Like, okay, am I the kind of person that, would have judged them, or I won't be able to handle it, just to understand why they didn't feel the need to reveal it. And, listen with empathy, show empathy, forgive them, and, reassure them that, moving forward, you're available, and also ask them if there are other secrets that you need to know, that they can talk to you about, and both of you walk through this healing process together, especially for you, the spouse that is just finding out. But I do believe that an open and honest conversation is always essential in this kind of situation.
Thank you so much, Tutu. As you can see, we're far gone in time. So I'll just throw out a last question in the efforts to round up. In an effort to promote transparency and intimacy, what steps can you give a spouse to take, to make to take in their relationship to make their partner feel very comfortable in revealing secrets that they were afraid of sharing with you? So what steps can you advise the person? And I'm talking about the spouse that's
So,
that's
yeah,
being hurt or in the dark, or
yeah.
they just feel their spouse has a secret. What steps can you give them in how to approach their spouse in sharing?
So, well, let me try and answer, and I may not answer it directly, but at least maybe somebody else will. You know, we've had such a robust conversation the last session, and it's been quite eye-opening. And I've loved the comments and you ladies' take on some of these issues. If there's anything I've learned, and it's this topic has been so interesting. We've had a lot of offline discussions. Fear of the unknown, fear of repercussion, fear of losing everything because of a secret is such a huge thing. And that's what I think fuels a lot of these things. I feel that one of the things that, we can start to think about in our relationships is really the ability for us to um, provide a place of safety. I think marriage is one place, and maybe that's why God used, the relationship between Christ and the church to describe marriage, because Jesus forgives us of the worst thing we can ever do. What's the worst we can ever do? He keeps saying he will forgive, he will love, he will forgive. And if that's the standard of marriage, it's a high standard and it's very difficult. But the one thing I've taken from here is to build intimacy, real intimacy. It's not enough for you to tell your spouse to be able to open up, tell you secrets. I think we have to keep providing an environment to remind our spouse that there are things you will do. You're probably the one person that can hurt me like nobody else can hurt me. But by God's grace, I will choose to believe you will not do it intentionally, and I'll ask God to always help me to forgive you. Just creating that environment, I think, brings safety, gives people the opportunity to unburden to their spouse and to find help to work through it together. So I think that's what I feel, especially when you talk about transparency and intimacy, is helping remove that fear that everybody goes through in your marriage or your relationship.
Yeah, I agree. Excuse me. You have to, first of all, create a supportive environment where the person can feel safe to tell you, to be vulnerable with you without repercussion. Of course, you'll be hurt, and you should have the freedom to express your hurt. You can't stifle someone's, the person telling the secret has to give the person they're telling the secret to the space and allow them to react the way that they need to react to get over it. But as well, the person who needs to offload secret also needs to know that they're also in a safe space. And that needs to be an environment that is fostered within the relationship. If it's already built on a bed of deceit and turbulence, it's harder. It's harder to share and be vulnerable in that situation, which is why the foundation always has to be right. When God tells us do things a certain way, there's reasons why the Bible tells us. God knows what kind of environment is needed to foster intimacy and a relationship like that. So there's so many factors that play into that, but I think that both people need to feel safe. The person telling the secret and the person that is being told to need to feel safe in that relationship. And that's something that needs to be cultivated.
Thank you so much, ladies. That's definitely very important to share, because I feel, people need it, in dealing with relationships, because as we all know, all of us we're a work in progress in our relationships. I know some of us are approaching our 20-year mark, praise the Lord. But everything needs to still be, we still don't fully know our spouses as we think. So every day I discover something new about my spouse and all of that. So depending on what the levity or the gravity of the secret is, you're like, oh, why didn't you share that? And they're like, oh, I didn't think it was a secret. I didn't think it was that important. But it's very, very important that, like all of you, Lola has said, to cultivate a safe space, to cultivate a safe space whereby both spouses can come to the table and freely share and not be judged or not be, cut down or criticized. Also, the person feeling, like Tutu said, feeling free to share your hurt. It's okay. And that person should be ready, to understand that this thing could hurt, the person I love. So basically, the two working together, like we shared last week, in Amos 3, can two work together unless they agree. Both parties have to come together. Before we do a quick roundup, I know our time is far spent. Is there any last minute things any one of you would like to share?
I also wanted to add, Tosin, based on what you said, that the person telling the secret needs to be, and I think Tutu alluded to that earlier, needs to be ready for the wide range of response that could come and the fallout and consequence. There's some people that tell secrets and they want you to just get over it quick. I've told you now, why are you still, 1 week later, you're still punishing me, or you're still angry, or you're stuck? Please let the person get over it in the way they know how to get over it. Don't try and rush because you've now unburdened yourself. You feel better, you feel light. You've unloaded the load on somebody else, the person now carrying it, and then you want the person to react a certain kind of way. I think we need to, be conscious of that too, that it might not turn out the way we expect it, but it is what it is.
Anyone else?
Based on all our conversation, honestly, relationship is super hard work. So I would just encourage each and every one of us, whether we are single, married, in whatever states we find ourselves, let's strive to work on our relationships. And let's also strive to work on ourselves as well.
Thank you, ladies. The bottom line is that when secrets exist in relationships, they can hurt the ones we love. Just give you Matthew 18:15-17 says, it teaches us to do everything within our power to make peace with the ones we have hurt. Romans 15:5-6 also shares that we must live in harmony with one another in Christ so that together we can make one voice in glorifying God. My hope is that in chatting and sharing today, we can all strengthen the bonds of our relationship as Christ will have us do. So, if no one else has anything to say, thank you all for joining us. And ladies, say bye.
Bye.
Bye.